What's up guys, Austin here, and in this video we're just going to keep it real and break down why most people lose money at trading, not good at investing, and probably suck at most things that they do. Now, I know that might sound pretty harsh, but the reality here is that there's a very simple concept that holds a lot of people back, and that is the Dunning-Kruger effect. So we're going to look at some visual examples here, but really let's just talk about it real fast. So essentially the Dunning-Kruger effect is when somebody has peak optimism with something and they experience a little bit of adversity, they end up in what's called the valley of despair, and then it takes them a gradual amount of time to become successful at what it is they're trying to achieve. Now, the issue with people is that when they experience adversity, they tend to want to leave whatever they tried behind and then move on to the next thing that they're going to be successful with. But the reality is, had they just stuck it out with whatever it is that they were doing, they likely would have become successful. But most people want instant gratification, and they don't have the tolerance or the judgment to be able to evaluate something for a long enough horizon. Now, we could easily compare this with the probabilities of flipping a coin. If I told you that the probability of flipping a coin was 50-50, you'd probably agree with me. But if we flipped a coin 4 times, maybe we'll get heads 4 times in a row. So we might think that tails actually will never show up. But you and I both know, because of such a simple example, that if we flip a coin 10,000 times, the probability of getting 5,000 heads and 5,000 tails is very, very high. But the issue is when most people begin a new journey, or when they start buying stocks, or when they start using a different trading system, or are learning a manual trading strategy, they don't give themselves the same type of benefit of the doubt. And this is equally true when people are learning a new skill. As soon as they encounter adversity, they say, this isn't for me, let me go try something else. And this is really one of those things that if people can get over this, and if they can understand this concept in the way that they execute it and practice it, it can really change the outcomes in most things that they do. So let's jump over to the screen here. I'm going to draw out some examples and give you guys some visual representation of how this works and how it's holding a lot of people back, and ultimately how you guys can overcome and achieve. So what we're looking at here is a blank page, but now what we're looking at is what's called essentially the Dunning-Kruger effect. Now, the Dunning-Kruger effect is where most people start here, right? This is essentially peak optimism. And the issue with peak optimism is that most people don't stay there very long. They typically end up here in the valley of despair. And this is essentially the road to enlightenment, this whole area here. But this is essentially the path to enlightenment, and then here is where they achieve mastery. Okay, now you and I both know most people will not stick it out for the road to enlightenment. Most people will just call it quits here in the valley of despair, and that is the biggest problem. Now, why is this the biggest problem beside the obvious? Well, let's break it down. Because when most people do this, right? Let's say we're doing it with stocks, right? Or stocks or investments, crypto, I don't care what it is. Any type of trading, we'll just use monetary examples here. Let's say you start here with $100, right? This is your peak optimism area. You then encounter the valley of despair. Now you are at $80. This is where you leave, right? You call it quits here instead of just letting this do what it needs to do. But you leave here. It's a bad looking Y. You quit here. All right, you quit here. So what does that mean next? Well, now you go to your next best thing. You start here. But instead of you starting here with $100, you start here with $80. Then, guess what happens? Oh no, how is this happening to me again? This sucks, everything's terrible, blah, 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 blah. You quit here again, okay? Now what happens? Well, now you got $60, okay? Now you got $60 and you quit here again. You quit again. Well, now what happens? Well, let's try to see if we can move down a little bit further. You quit again, and now you have $60, and now you go to the next best thing. Guess what happens here? You quit again, and now you got $40 left. And basically, you repeat this vicious cycle until zero. And this is the problem, okay? Most people do not give them time to experience this. You must be patient to experience this. This is the issue. Most people leave at the bottom. They don't give themselves enough time to experience upside. And the problem here is that when people do this with a skill, they think that they're losers. They get to the bottom and they're like, oh, nothing works for me. And they do this for years and years and years and years and years. And next thing you know, 5 years down the line, they're basically in a lower position that they started, or just in the same place. They never got to a period of mastery with anything that they did, and they never have results for themselves. And that is the biggest problem, okay? When it comes to stocks or investing, I basically basically showed you guys the example there. I use stock selection as a very basic thing. Stock selection is not my expertise or my cup of tea. My thing is more active trading through algorithmic trading systems. And I see this all the time with people. People will come in and have access to the same exact trading strategies that have been traded profitably for the last 5 years. Okay, 5 years, even 7 years. And they will go through a lull or a drawdown, and then they will leave and chase the next best system, and they will be stuck in this vicious cycle. They'll basically experience a drawdown, go to the next system, try to make it back, and then maybe they just didn't time that system right. Maybe they did, but sometimes they don't. And then it just ends up being this very, very annoying cycle. Now with trading systems, it's a little bit different because you can end up in another strategy that maybe you timed it right and it does continue to go the way that you want it to go, and you end up making back your prior losses. But the issue there is you only have this single exposure to one thing, and you're going to experience periods of adversity with anything it is that you do. So with trading systems, with different types of assets that you invest in, diversification is really going to be the key. I made an entire video on diversification. I'm going to link it right here so you guys can click that and watch it, because it is a crucial thing to trading systems, to investing, whatever it might be. It is a crucial thing. Do not put all your eggs in one basket and be able to have diversification and hedge things against each other. I'm not the only person that believes that. Ray Dalio founded the largest hedge fund in the world, and he basically claims the holy grail to investing is diversification. So definitely watch that video. It is definitely worth your time, but don't fall victim to the Dunning-Kruger effect. This is one of those things that can financially ruin you. It can erode your confidence in anything that you do, and it could really just keep you behind the ball. Again, if we were to flip a coin 4 times, or if we were to flip a coin 10 times, I probably would get heads or tails more than one particular side, right? It's probably not going to give me a 50-50 outcome. But if I increase my data set there, then I'm more than likely going to get my 50-50 outcome. If I go from 10 flips to 10,000 flips, it's definitely going to be closer to 50-50. If I go from 10,000 flips to 100,000 flips, it most certainly will be 50-50. And most people aren't giving themselves enough flips. They're not giving themselves enough data with most things that they do, and it holds them back from achieving success. And it is going to be one of those things that you are really just shooting yourself in the foot, holding yourself back, eroding your capital, eroding your confidence when you are not allowing yourself to have enough data to judge the efficacy of something. Make sure you guys give yourself time to achieve mastery in your skills. If you are investing in different assets, make sure obviously there's sufficient data to prove the robustness of whatever it is that you're approaching, but it is incredibly important. There are people that will buy S&P ETFs, time it wrong, sell at the bottom, and say the stock market is a scam. The stock market's not a fucking scam, dude. You just have terrible timing because you keep leaving at the bottom. Stop being a fucking pussy. Hold on to things and let it go the way it needs to go. Sorry, being direct here, but it is what it is. Stick it out. Don't bitch out in adversity. Diversify your assets, diversify your strategies, and when times get tough, chin up, push forward, stick it out, and achieve mastery, because anybody who's became a master of anything went through adversity and made it to the other side. So hope you guys like this video. I know my cadence here, my tempo was a little bit more upbeat, and we turned the heat on here, but hey, this might be what someone needed to hear to get to the next level. So make sure you guys hit the like button, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.